Good morning, everyone. My name is Vandana Nirankari, and I'll be singing something in my mother tongue now, which I'm sure not everyone in this room will understand, but I'm also sure that everyone of you all will like it. Well, at least I hope that happens. My friend Anurag here will be helping me with the guitar. Sikame, oh sikame, sikame, oh sikame, sikiya khe ki na sikaye bhalara. दुख में दुखिया खे कि न दुखाए दुलारा सुन सवाल मोहिंजो हीणो हाल मोहिंजो सुन सवाल मोहिंजो हीणो हाल मोहिंजो दिल जिया दिल में कैखे बुधाया दिल जिया दिल में दिल थोरी चरी दिल थोरी खुशी भी दिल में गम भी दिल में चोट भी दिल में दुआ भी दिल में शुक्र भी दिल में फिक्र भी दिल में तुझोई बस नालो दिल में तू आ तू दिल में तू आ तू पंहिंजे अखियुनि में तोखे विहारियां तोखां सवाइ कंहिं न निहारियां सिक तुंहिंजी साईं लोका लिकायां ऐं दिल में मां गायां सिक में ओ सिक में सिकीअ खे कि न सिकाए भलारा दुख में दुखिया खे कि न दुखाए दुलारा सुन सवाल मोहिंजो हीणो हाल मोहिंजो सुन सवाल मोहिंजो हीणो हाल मोहिंजो Thank you. Thank you so much. What you heard is one of the oldest languages in human history. Just to maintain the stereotypes that Sindhi show off, some quick facts about Sindhi language. The term Hind and Hindu are derived from the words Sindh and Sindhu because the Persians couldn't pronounce the word sir. Sindhi language has relatively large inventory of both consonants and vowels. It has 46 consonants and 16 vowels. A majority of historians, anthropologists, linguists, and scholars believe that Sindhi language and culture are not offshoots of any foreign influence, but are indigenous and owe its roots to Indus Valley civilization around 3300 BC. The Sindh province today comes under the country Pakistan, but after the partition in 1947, 30 lakh Sindhi Hindus and Sindhi Sikhs were migrated to India, and my grandfather was one of them. I thank him so much for that. Now, throughout the history, languages have always been in flux. It is observed that the total revival of a dead language into a proper sustaining language has happened only one in case of Hebrew language of Israel. Now, how does a language get endangered? Well, there are 4 degrees to it, as shown here. A language is said to be healthy and strong when all the generations use language in variety of settings. A language is weak, weakening and sick when spoken by older people, not fully used by younger generations. It is dying when only a few speakers remain, no longer used as native language by children. And the language is dead when no longer spoken as a native language, which causes its extinction. The Sindhi language is sick and weakening, and in many parts of the community, it is dead. And this misfortune has not just happened with Sindhi language, but other languages as well. For example, Ainu language in Japan, Sanskrit language in India, Manchu language in China, Chong language in Thailand, Christian language of Singapore, the Diari language of the far north of South Australia. And the list is really long because out of 7,000 living languages today, 96% are maintained by only 4% of the population. And on an average, one language is dying every 2 weeks. Now, what causes this state? Well, I am not sure about the other languages, but I definitely have a story for my language to tell. It is believed that it is basically because of 3 reasons. First being due to lack of opportunities to learn the language in the schools. Second, ignorance of the parents to pass on the culture and language to their children, which led to hesitancy in speaking it. Third, due to the dispersed position of Sindhis. Like for example, when we migrated to India, different Sindhis were given different states. Some were given Maharashtra, for example, and now they had to learn the local language in terms of survival and business. So they learned the local language and also used it as their own language in their home. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to learn to read and write the language in my school itself because the founders were Sindhis and they made sure, just like my parents did, that the kids grew up with strong identity. The revitalization of language was never a plan. It happened so that once my brother wanted to listen to Sindhi songs, which were not pleasing to ears or eyes because the number of people who maintained the culture were not Indian, and they compromised with the quality also, and there were no youngsters singing in the language at all. So he gave me this idea of taking an old Sindhi song and reviving it with modern music. So I took an old Sindhi song that celebrated the spirit of being Sindhis because honestly, the motivation behind it was something beyond only promotion of ourselves, because we know that a lot of people take interest in their heritage language through an entryway of music. So I took an old Sindhi songs and I added English subtitles to it because I had to. That the condition of the language is that bad, and I made this small video with the help of my friends.
guys, project banana hai.
अरे हाँ, Bible, what's the topic?
Project is to be made on a mother tongue.
Wait a minute, guys. You guys are Sindhi, right?
Yeah.
But I never see you guys speak in Sindhi.
Yeah, because that's so uncool.
Oh, come on, yeah. It's not uncool. It's just that we're not used to it. बचपन से ये brought up with Hindi and English, इसीलिए अपनी mother tongue सीखने की कभी passion ही नहीं है.
Correct. Like in my family, only Dada Dadi speaks in Sindhi. बाकी सब तो हिंदी और इंग्लिश में ही बात करते हैं.
Something has to be done.
And then I started with the song Sindhi Abani Boli that celebrated the spirit of Sindhi with subtitles like Sindhi, our ancestral language. Sweet is our ancestral language. How can I forget it? Can sacrifice my life and soul for it. The language that my mother sung the lullaby to me in. The identity of every community is recognized by its language. Oh Sindhi, you will only survive if your language survives. Thank you. So we all know the power of music, how it triggers different types of emotions, of sadness, of happiness, of pride, of celebration. And not just that, but we all have learnt our very first alphabets through music. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So the idea worked the same way. The children started to take interest and started to learn the language through these songs. They started singing it, they started dancing on it, and the elders took pride in it. They wrote me emails and comments saying that they feel so proud of being who they are. A renowned music label, Tips Industries, also recognized my vision and they came forward to support me. And together we released another Sindhi song recently. And to our surprise, it reached many more youngsters out there and my inboxes were filled with these videos. There were dance covers, there were TikTok videos from youngsters, kids were singing it. So this was the response that we got and we realized that the idea is working. And the video is viral today on TikTok in the neighboring country, just like it was the Lamborghini song was here in India. And the video has received around 4 million views in just 5 months. Thank you. Having said that, Kinan Malik, a writer, argues that it is irrational to save all languages as language death is natural and in some cases inevitable even with interventions. He proposes that language death improves communication by ensuring more people speak the same language. This may benefit the economy and reduce conflict. Another linguist, John McWalker, he argues that death of a language doesn't necessarily mean death of a culture. This is a very interesting point to elaborate. For example, it's okay if some people are not speaking Sindhi, but if they are eating Sindhi cuisine or following Sindhi traditions, then that is not death of a culture. He also says that programs to revive indigenous languages will never be effective due to practical reasons involved. Having said that, the revival of Sanskrit has happened in India. In the 2001 census, 14,000 people who claim that their mother tongue to be Sanskrit, it increased by 70% in 2011 census by 25,000 people. Having said that, the aim behind my work is not to be a victim and fight over it, but rather to celebrate. For example, my first song celebrated being Sindhis, second celebrates God's plan, and third celebrates the launching between two lovers. Honestly, the motivation behind this is to take pride and inspire others to take pride in their respective language, their respective culture, their sense of self, and most importantly, celebrate who we are. Thank you for having me. Thank you.